Okay, so part two of this video. The last part one ended on kind of not a great way to end, with me saying, I'm mad, yeah, everyone's wrong. But that's not the whole point of this video. Part two is where we're getting to the point of this video, which is not about how I'm right, but about how I'm as much a slave to my implicit frames of reference as anybody else. And that's why I can't really seem to apply myself to the YouTube channel. There's a lot of good reasons why I might want to apply myself to the YouTube channel. In theory, it could make it so I don't have to get a different job. If I were to make sufficient money from the YouTube channel, I could have that be my employment. And it's not inconceivable that I could make sufficient money from the YouTube channel. I just have to genuinely apply myself and be consistent across time. The problem is, I don't have TE as an absolute value, as a counter value, which means figuring out how to be successful is not going to give me any satisfaction. I don't view as an absolute value actual impacts either. So I might be perfectly happy with an explanation I think is a good explanation, whether or not it changed anybody's mind or did any work in terms of winning converts to my case or whatever. That's largely irrelevant to me because SE is 8th slot and kind of countervalued. Not really, but very instrumental, very unconscious, and a little defensive about it, you know. I have TI as an instrumental value, but it's my tool function, so it's going to be how I go about doing most of my work in the world, is checking for correctness. However, I'm an NE DOM, so the way I be is to ideate like I'm doing right now, covering topics that are a blend of things I covered before and maybe some ideas I haven't covered before, but it's cross-pollinating some things. And one of the things I'm cross-pollinating here is the idea of intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. So essentially what is broadly considered to be the case is that anytime you're extrinsically motivated to do something, it's at the expense of intrinsic motivation. So if you're dancing and having a great time and somebody comes up to you and says, I will pay you to continue dancing, all of a sudden you're not going to want to dance so much anymore. But it's not just others who can provide extrinsic motivation. And TE and SE are very extrinsic motivation for me. Like, trying to determine how I behave as a creator on the YouTube channel according to what's going to have this or that impact, or what's a good way to optimize a success path. That's just, it's like, I might get a bug up my ass periodically and be like, come on Eric, you could do this, but the reality is I can't because I don't want to, and I don't like those parts of YouTube. I don't like the parts of YouTube that represent my countervalued or super unconscious instrumental functions. Of course, my blind spot, FI, is actually quite conducive to being a YouTuber, I think, because while I don't have it's not like I've got great control over my feelings. It is the case that I'm not easily triggered, usually, unless I'm already mad, in which case I'm not even really being triggered, I'm just in a ranty mood, you know, and I get that way sometimes. This video is genuinely not initiated by frustration. I mentioned the instance of the guy coming in with the old God argument, can God make a square circle if he's omnipotent? And I think that's illustrative of how, you know, you deal with people who not just have different cognitive function stacks, but are in a different place in their intellectual journey. And the vast majority of people are never afforded the conceptual grasp of language that they need to to separate out, this is how you make a case, this is how you call to action. Like what you'll notice in my videos, I almost never say like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. Because I don't like calls to action. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like telling other people what to do. That's all S stuff for me. That's no fun. Who likes S stuff? What I like is this. I like the fact that because I'm yammering on about these various things, this drive to and from town, I had to go into town to get concrete, work on my pond. It goes by very quickly, and when I get home, I'll have a couple of videos to upload. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload the first one, but maybe I will. The point being that when people talk about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, we can also think of those things as instrumental and absolute values. Intrinsic motivation correlates with an absolute value. I'm intrinsically motivated to do this because I'm interested in talking out the ideas and conveying my case to the flow, which is to say some make-believe argumentational record that exists that doesn't actually exist, that presumably once I've gotten it down on the flow, it's not my problem if people don't watch it or don't understand it, because I've made the arguments. So that's a very, very unconscious relationship with extroverted sensing. Extroverted sensing would say language is great because and when it can cause change, cause impacts, cause action. But for an extroverted intuitor, let's say we're talking about an ESTP versus me, extroverted sensor, they want that extroverted intuition to serve their dominant function, extroverted sensing. In contrast, I expect extroverted sensing to serve my dominant function of extroverted intuition, and that's just a horribly misguided pipe dream, because obviously words in some sensible, self-interested framed universe, words are there to help you be more effectively what you want to be, get more effectively what you want to get, understand what you need to understand so that you can accomplish meh. But for an extroverted intuitor with introverted thinking second slot, it's an end in itself for me to just understand and explain it. And then the goal is just to continue to refine my understanding, so little areas where I still have a lack of clarity get refined, get clarified, and then my explanations presumably get better and more refined over time as I explain things over and over again. So unfortunately, that dooms me basically to a life of failure according to conventional sensorial standards of making money, having a lot of people watch you, stuff like that. So and that's one of the unfortunate realities of us not beginning everyone's education with, these are the different things that language can do. And it's not that complicated, right? There are questions, statements, commands. Among statements, there are prescriptive, descriptive, and normative statements. And as far as things that people do with language, they can try to call to action, they can try to set expectations or set their own expectations, in other words, get clarity about what to expect from another person. They can express themselves like, I feel so wonderful today. They can negate something. No, that is wrong, because they could make a case, affirm something. They could explain something, which is like making a case, but without the expectation of pushback. It's basically saying, this case has already been made, it withstood all scrutiny, your feeble attempts aren't going to get anywhere, so just let me explain it and try to understand. But if people are are arriving with the purpose of language to debate, then they're not going to be very happy with Eric's dry lecture. And they're going to say, well, who made you the gauge of all-knowing, Eric? You act like this thing's already resolved and settled, but I want to argue with you about it. Well, it is resolved and settled until you disagree with and successfully rebut my various arguments. You can't come in with your nonsense, have me respond directly to it, and then you just ignore my responses and continue on with some other ideas and think that, hey, stuff's happening here. Nothing's happening there except you're being oblivious. I don't mean you, of course, kind viewer, beloved viewer. You know you are my absolute favorite person around talking with Spanish people. You, yeah, I'm talking about you. You, that's the one. You're my very favorite one. I just think you're so insightful and brilliant. You listen to me, ask us great questions, and it's just like, I have so much to learn from you. That's why I want to thank you for watching this video, because your watching eyes teach me so much. And I want to encourage you to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because it is, after all, the only YouTube channel on the internet. God bless. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese, and snakes be aplenty.